Kia ora, it's Mike Atkinson. This presentation is going to look at belaying at the top of a climb in a multi-pitch context. So when the leader gets to an anchor station, creates the anchor, belays up the seconder, and then the transfer over or transition from them seconding up to them leading on through to the next pitch. The first step is exactly the same as the transition to top rope or abseil and single pitch. Is just to attach a quick draw into one of the anchor rings and clip your rope into that, staying on belay. Again, same process as if you're setting up a top rope anchor. Put your beaners into each of the two anchor bolts. The only difference here when you pull the loops down for your sling is you have a short, you want to end up with a short loop and a long loop at your focal point. About a hand span apart, and then hold them like that and then tie your overhand knot. Once you've tied your overhand knot at the focal point here, then you'll see you've got a short loop here and a long loop there. Now the reason we do that in multi-pitch context is the anchor, because minimum of 2 people are going to be up here at one time, it can get quite congested, get quite busy. So this is just to minimize any clutter or confusion at the anchor station. So once you have got your anchor set up, then, and remembering that you're still on belay, is attach your cow's tail to the short loop of the focal point. So this loop here, attach your cow's tail and do your lock and beaner up. And adjust the length of your cow's tail so that you are weighting the anchor. So your body weight is putting some tension on this anchor. You want to keep tension on this throughout the whole process. It's really important when you're belaying your seconder up that you want to try and have visual communication or visual sight of the climber. It makes communication a lot easier. So sometimes the cow's tail, depending on the anchor stance, is not long enough for you to do that. So one option is to use your end of the rope, so from your rethreaded figure 8, and then attach up to the same place where you attach the cow's tail, but into a locking beaner with a clove hitch up here. And then you can adjust that length of the clove hitch quite easily with the excess rope that you've got. Once you've weighted the system, got your safety in, whether it's using the rope with a clove hitch or your cow's tail, and double check the system. So always double check your system, especially your locking beaners, to make sure that they are done up, are locked. Then you can turn around to your belayer, and again the same communication process as transition to abseil and single pitch. Turn around, look at your climber in a loud, clear voice, yell out, "Safe, take me off belay," and the name of the climber, and hands up in the air as well. Got that visual and verbal communication. The belayer will then keep their hands on the rope, lift their arms up with the rope in their hand, and say "off belay," and using the name of the climber. Once the belayer has taken the belay device off the rope, pull up all the excess rope down at the belayer, and if you've got a ledge, nice ledge at your feet, then you can spaghetti it onto the ledge. Or if you haven't, then having it on lap cord over each side of your cow's tail on your harness is a good idea. The key thing here is you want to try and keep the rope not tangled at all. So minimizing the tangles or chance of getting tangled as much as you can. Right, now on the long loop of your focal point, this one here, attach your locking beaner and then your belay device, and you'll either have a guide or a reverso or something similar, and attach the metal loop, metal ring there into the locking beaner and do the locking beaner up. Once you have attached the metal ring to one of the locking beaners, the rope coming up from the climber, thread that through your belay device into a locking beaner, and then back to you. So this rope here is the rope that is coming back to you, that's going to be your dead rope. Now the key thing once you've done that is to test the system. So you should be able to pull this rope here up, and it should slide through the device, and when you pull down on it this way, then it should lock. If it doesn't do that, you've done it incorrectly. Once you have checked the system to make sure that it's working properly, then you can call to your belayer in a loud, clear voice, on belay, and the name of the climber. The belayer will then disassemble the anchor, so they will take apart the anchor that they're hanging on, and then they will call climbing as soon as they're ready to climb. And as you're belaying the climber up, this bit here, this bit of rope here is a dead rope, and just like any normal belay, you want to never let go of that rope. Although these devices are designed to lock, they can release in certain conditions, especially if it's just is being pushed up against something, whether it's the rock or another beaner or something else. So if you are letting go of that dead rope, this dead rope at any stage, tie an overhand on a bight below that, just below where you hold onto it. And then if it does slip for whatever reason, it's only going to go as far as that overhand bight is there. So it's only going to slip that much there. The reason that you might let go is if you wanted to take a photo, for example. Once the belayer gets up to your anchor, get them to clip their cow's tail into the same short or small focal point that your one is at, and do the locking beaner up, and then they are safe on that. Get them to lean back or weight the anchor as well. And then you can disestablish the guide in guide mode and put that into your belay absol loop on your harness, assuming that they are going to lead off on the next pitch. Now, there may be some gear to sort out. This is a good chance to do that. So swapping over quick draw, sorting out gear, making sure they've got enough gear for leading the next pitch. Before they come off their cow's tail, what you want to do is put a quick draw on one of the anchor bolts up here, clip the rope through it. So this rope here I'm holding here is the rope going to the climber. That's the dead rope there that I will be holding onto as I'm belaying them. And this just negates a factor 2 fall. So this is essentially like their first bolt of